Maybe we'll chuck up a poll and see what everybody says posthumously. Posthumous? How do you say that word?
I don't know.
After someone's
And
dead.
I don't want to try to. I thought it was posthum.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Glass Kingdom podcast, where we look at what is, what could be, and what will come in A Song of Ice and Fire. My name is Arik.
And I'm Lillian, and we admin over at the A Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones Discussions and Theories Facebook group.
And today we are talking A Clash of Kings, Catelyn Chapter 2. This is our fourth episode in the A Clash of Kings Catelyn perspective run. Yes.
Sorry, I had to think. I couldn't remember.
I saw
done.
you like looking and thinking. I'm just like, what are you thinking about? How do we normally start these? What do we do again?
What is our talking points?
Right, talking points.
Are you okay? Are you not drinking? Is that why you're off?
I haven't had a beer in like 4 days.
So that's why you're off.
I had 4 since I've been here. By the way, I'm talking from a little farm town outside of Chicago. I'm not in my normal spot anymore, and I'm recording this on my phone. So, anyway, as always, the episode format's going to be a chapter summary. We'll discuss who the main character of the chapter is. We'll talk who had the biggest influence over the POV character and why. We try to figure out any alternative action the main character, or really any of the characters in the chapter, like could have done differently, because we start doing that, right? When it's like that Tyrion chapter and that other Catelyn chapter where it's like she couldn't have done anything else differently, so we kind of like look what everybody else could have done.
I was reading a tweet.
We take a look at how the events of this chapter affects the other plots. We'll settle on an alternative point of view to witness the events of the chapter from, and then we'll close out with quotes, standout appearances, and theories that apply. All right, so on to Lillian for your Clash of Kings, Catelyn 2 chapter summary. Ready, set, go.
Okay, so the chapter opens with Cat camping out with her honor guard. Robb has sent her to treat with the king in the south, Renly Baratheon. Their party is come upon by Renly's outriders, and we get some awkward banter about which boy king is actually the king. Cat and co. have arrived at Bitterbridge during Renly's party games. The melee is wrapping up, and we see a blue beast take out the precious Knight of Flowers. The blue beast takes off its helmet, and uh-oh, it's a fucking chick. She has to be part of Renly's Rainbow Guard and becomes the Blue Ranger. Renly graciously welcomes Cat while his lords... Renly...
Well, his
Renly?
lords do lording, and his men
Yes.
do menning, his knights do knighting.
Well, knights can knight, so yeah. But anyways, and that
Lords
happens at
can lord.
melees.
Lords can lord.
They can make people lords?
Lords can lord.
I don't think that's right.
You said knights can knight, and I was like, well, so can...
Well, a knight
peasants.
can, like, knight somebody.
A lord can do lord things.
They can't make someone else a lord. A knight
No.
can make someone else a knight, is what I'm saying.
But knighting is like an act of doing something, and lording is an act of doing something.
Lording is not a fucking verb. Renly
You're
graciously...
knighting.
Wait, Renly graciously welcomes Cat while his lords take digs at Robb for sending a weak, fragile, stupid woman. Use any of those words
What?
you want. Well, Randall Tarley is like he's hiding beneath his mother's skirts.
Yeah, one person said that, not a bunch of people.
There were 3 lords that made comments on how come Robb couldn't come himself.
No, it's just Randall.
He's the one that's like mean about it, but the other ones say, you know, why isn't Robb coming himself? Anyways, back to my summary.
No, it's just Randall.
No, you're wrong. We'll argue about it in quotes. During the feast, Cat and company know that they are all green boys playing at war, and dun dun dun, winter is coming. Renly asks Cat to go on a walk, and it's so magical. I hope they end up kissing.
What?
They climb Yeah, they climb to the top of a tower, and Renly subtly says, "Bitch, your son has nothing on my numbers," while pointing out all of his troops. Unfortunately, before any sexy time can happen between the two, they are interrupted by a writer.
What?
I'm having my own fanfic, okay, that Renly and Cat get together. Let me be. Anyways, they're interrupted by a rider in the night. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Stannis, sieging Storm's End. That was just a fucked up summary. Why are you... Say what you gotta say.
I don't know. Until I figured out that you were trolling yourself in your own summary. I was like, this is a weird way to view how this chapter happened. I didn't get the vibe that Renly was trying to have sex with Catelyn.
He wasn't.
I didn't get the romantic moonlight walk.
They did go for a walk.
They walked up a staircase.
And there was moonlight outside the tower. It was at night.
Okay. Moonlight. Instant horniness. Got it. Alright. No, just overall, like, this chapter made me like Renly.
Page 345 and 346. There's all kinds of bitching. So, fuck you. It's not just
345 and 346, there's all kinds of bitching?
Yes.
There was one person who said that Rob should have come here instead of hiding behind his mom.
And then...
Yep, one person said that.
No.
One person was like, how come Rob's not here instead of you?
Fine.
Did you read the book?
No, I didn't. I've never read the book. I
the
pulling this all
Wikipedia
out of my
entry,
ass. That's why I think Renly and Cat are gonna fuck. They're gonna have a threesome with Loras. Maybe Marjorie's gonna come in. That way she'll finally get pregnant. Who fucking knows?
Well, I didn't have anything for theories, but now I do have one, and this will blow your mind whenever we get to the end.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Who is your main character of this chapter?
My main character was the King in the South, Renly Baratheon.
Yes, the King of Highgarden and everything else, Renly Baratheon.
How come Highgarden? Well, I know they have a lot of wealth and everything, but it's like... It seems like they should have kinged Loras or something with how much everybody fucking worships them. You know what I'm saying?
Loras has no claim.
Renly has no claim.
Sure.
If we want to start that. Nobody has a fucking claim.
Sure, but it'll get more people to follow him if it's like, hey, Renly is on our side and we're going to push Renly for the throne because he was Robert's brother. Loras is like, we're picking Loras because we're picking Loras. And Loras is a third son anyway.
Well, if
and Mace is still alive. Why wouldn't Mace just claim it for himself?
Because Mace is a puffish.
Why would they go with his third child?
Because he's the pretty one.
But you still got Willis and you still got Garland.
Okay.
Garland's prettier than Loras.
Why are they...
Garland's better suited for it than Loras.
Garland is probably prettier than Loras. Loras is prettier. Loras is the prettiest. Garland is prettier than Willis because Willis is a cripple.
Oh, wow. He's a cripple, so he's ugly? Mm-hmm. He has a bad leg. He didn't get his face chopped in half like Tyrion.
You don't know that. Maybe the horse landed weirdly and fucking took a chunk out of his nose.
No, that's not true. So I picked Renly because this whole thing is describing his host, his numbers, his tournament is trying to, or Catelyn at least is trying to characterize the people behind Renly by his tournament. The feast and all that, and everything really combined goes to show how Renly is perceived. He's flashy, likable, fun, nice, informal. He is the exact opposite of Stannis.
He's Robert Jr.
He's better than... He's like... Because there's that part where someone brings up, he's like, do you have daughters? And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, thank God that I'm not Robert.
It's me and not Robert. Yeah, the Lord of the Castle.
Yeah, so Robert's a giant rapist. Renly wouldn't do that.
Robert didn't rape anybody.
He raped Cersei.
Okay. All the other people, we don't know that he raped them. As far as we know, they went to bed willing with him.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
There's no proof that there was
I'll
rape.
concede that, but he did rape Cersei. Just because she's a bad person doesn't make it okay.
I'm not saying that at all. Cersei's one of my favorite characters.
Oh, I know, but like your extended pause where you're thinking about it,
How to
it seemed like you were
justify it?
about to. Yeah,
I was
it's
about
like,
to.
don't even try. Don't even try.
We can't apply
So
modern day ethics
no,
to this
no, we
story.
can because this book wasn't written in 1298.
I completely agree with you, and that's why I always make the fucking argument
So
on
I
Rhaegar and Lyanna. But everybody, oh, you can't apply. Blah, blah, blah. It's a different time. So
okay. So
according
like,
to their
you
logic,
siding with? Are you
no,
siding with them?
no, I'm not. But I'm gonna play
Okay.
devil's advocate.
Just move on.
It wasn't rape.
Okay, I think it was. But no, he definitely ripped
That's a
Cersei.
lie.
Anyway, point is that Renly is better than Robert as a person, not as a fighter, obviously.
Oh, definitely not.
Do you have anything else on the main character?
No, I'm just trying to think of ways to fight that Renly is such a better person than Robert. That I'm drawing blanks.
Because a lot of people go, "Oh, Renly would be a bad king because he just wants to party and like he just jokes and laughs a lot." It's like, dude, that's exactly what Robert was.
I don't think he would be a bad king. I think he would be a fun king. I think we've talked about this before. You know, exactly like you said. That's the same thing that Robert did. The only difference I think with Renly is I don't think he understands the severity of the situation and what he's getting into.
Well, I mean, like that's fair, but I don't think it should be a knock on him because anybody who hasn't gone through this stuff can't understand like how it goes.
Well, but
Like,
the older generation.
But it goes to Rob. Like Rob can't understand what he's about to get into until he goes in there and starts fighting first. Like until like he has his first fight, then he can be like, okay, I kind of start to get it. But I've only had one fight, so after he has a couple more, then he can actually say, I get it.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, fine.
So, yes, him and Loras and a lot of these young guys don't understand what they're about to get into, but that's not their fault that they didn't grow up in war. Like, you can apply that to all the Ironborn then, except for Theon. You know, if whenever they go and fight, like, they know what they're getting into, that doesn't make it better, right? Like, they might know what to expect, but war is chaos. You can't expect to know, like, anything. Like, anything can happen at any time.
But they know
So
what to expect, and so their commanders wouldn't expect them to run away screaming like little bitches. With these kids, you don't know how they're going to react once it actually comes down to being in battle. What if they just can't handle it and they drop their shit and run?
True.
What are we fighting over?
You think that only people who have been in war are good for war.
That's not
like you're somehow supposed to
That
like,
is
spit
not
out
what
a
I said.
machine of like war-hardened people. Like there's no way to know until you actually get in there.
Let's move on to the next point because I don't think that was anything of what I said any time.
I mean, I'll
today.
probably get back to this whenever we get to quotes, but so who had the biggest influence over the POV character and why? The POV character being Catelyn. I had Renly and his army.
Okay.
It shows because the whole point of her being there is to try to gain Renly's side or try to meet some kind of agreement with Renly. But then she sees how inferior her army is to Rob's. You got Rowan and Tarly talking about Robert, or not Rob, but Rob and his how they were dealing with Jaime.
Oh,
and,
so that was one more than Tarly?
Not going to.
So it was someone else besides Tarly?
Tarly was the only person who mentioned Rob going there, or Rob not being there himself.
But
You
Rowan
said-
also took a dig at Rob,
He said something about Jaime Lannister.
which is ultimately a dig at Rob and how he's handling the situation.
I didn't say no one said anything about Rob. You said a bunch of people started talking about Rob not being there himself. I'm like, no, Randall was the only person who said that why isn't Rob there himself? People did talk about Rob, like, why didn't he kill Jaime? Why isn't he? And then fucking, what's his name, Tarly said, why aren't you here instead of Rob? And then Brianna's like, you call him king. So there was a bunch of people saying stuff, but Tarly was the only person who said, how come you're here and not Rob himself?
Still think you're wrong, but okay.
That's not wrong.
They were thinking it.
Should I read this whole fucking thing to you?
No, it's fine.
Jesus Christ.
My overall sentiment in what I was saying was, yes, they were... Okay, fine. Randall was pissed that a woman was there to treat instead of Robb, but overall they were taking digs at Robb's capabilities. Exactly like what you just said with Jamie.
Mm-hmm. They were questioning stuff that Robb was doing, yeah.
Okay, they were taking digs at Robb.
If you want to get offended by it like that, then okay, they're taking digs at Robb.
Okay.
It's your turn to talk.
Okay. So originally I had the size of Renly's army as one of the influences, but I crossed it out for some reason. Don't know why. I had the main...
Yeah, his army.
Good for you. I had the main influence on Cat as being Robb. Obviously, he sent her... the beginning of the chapter, she's thinking about her family and how when Robb was a little boy and playing with wooden swords and how he's still a boy, playing at war now, but he's playing at a king. Everything she's doing is because of Robb. You know, like, yes, everything she's seeing is about Renly and his numbers and how his people see him, but she's seeing that through a filter of, in comparison to Robb's people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think Robb's a bit on the back burner with this one, though.
Okay.
Like, their whole situation is, like at the forefront. But Robb himself, I don't think he's influencing her at all. He sent her there, so I mean, like, if you want to grab that at it, but
he didn't really give her any directions, right?
No, he doesn't give her, like, explicit directions of what to do. I mean, like, what is Robb gonna tell Catelyn?
Well, he could have, like, sent a letter. So his words exactly.
Yeah, but how would he know what to say?
I don't know, but it would be king to king rather than my mother.
Well, I mean, like, the whole point of envoys is that they speak with the king's words.
Yes. What were the king's words, though?
It's a figure of speech. Like, what I say comes from Robb. He didn't waste a whole bunch of time, like, telling his maester to write down shit and then send out 1,000 letters like Stannis did. But Stannis isn't doing anything. And Robb is actually trying to move. Go ahead and take us into the next one.
Okay, so knowing how the future plays out, what should the POV have done differently to avoid the result? So a couple things I had. She could have been more persuasive with Robb beforehand or with Renly at Bitterbridge. Possibly proposed another marriage to form an alliance. She did it before. She could do it again. I don't know who the fuck she would have offered up, but if they made an alliance with Renly, would they really still need the phrase? They're already past the twins.
Why would you... So you're saying she should have broken Robb's marriage pact?
Well, he's going to end up breaking it anyways.
Yeah, but... that doesn't... like, because then, like, because you gotta pass by the twins to get back to Winterfell.
By the time the war is over, what the fuck is Walder Frey going to do?
I mean, I guess, but I mean, like, you don't want to ostracize somebody who's already one of your allies like that.
It's Walder Frey. Who the fuck cares?
It's not just Walder Frey. It's all the men that he has with him. They got 4,000 people from Walder Frey.
It's all his fucking bastards. They all came from his dick. Who cares?
Okay. I can see you're not taking it seriously.
Okay, no, my point is that maybe not necessarily broker a marriage with Robb, like that would be ideal, but maybe broker a marriage for one of the girls or for Edmure or someone else who's closely tied to whoever would be the nobility of the North in order to make sure that they were going to come together against the Lannisters. Like, we don't know, she hasn't brought any terms to Renly yet, but possibly she could have discussed something like that with Robb rather than, again, we don't know what was said or whatever, but having something like that in her pocket could be helpful.
I agree with that, yeah.
Okay.
Because she doesn't really come to Renly with any kind of thing, right? Except, help us.
Yeah.
And he's like, why?
There's no offer, there's nothing.
Renly's the one that makes offers. He's like, he can keep his titles, he can keep his land, that's whatever.
He can even call himself king in the North, but I will not rule over a broken kingdom.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Cat
Right.
offers nothing.
What do you think Rob would have offered if it was Rob in there?
Rob is, he seems very stubborn, so I don't know if he would have offered anything either. But
What about the Rob's second choice for an envoy, Great John Umber? What do you
I was
think he
gonna
would have
bring
done?
that up later. He would have just started
Yeah,
throwing tables.
he just start yelling. Yeah, I got that down later, so we'll do that later. Um, I had no actions that could be done differently by Kat, but that's a good point. She should have she didn't really talk a whole lot, but they were interrupted, so maybe she had plans to say shit.
It's
Um,
possible.
but everything they probably were only talking for what 5 minutes, if that, before the dude
Yeah,
comes up.
it wasn't very long.
So yeah, it's tough to judge the whole thing of if Robert did tell her make sure you say this, or if she had ideas to play. They all got cut off pretty short, and then the chapter ends too. So we don't know what else they had in their pocket to actually roll out there.
Yeah. And it doesn't come up in the next chapter because the next chapter, basically everything is dropped for the Stannis Renly fight.
Yeah. Um. So even though I had none by Cat, I tried just so I had something on here. I started applying this to other folks. So if they didn't have a turning and they just straight marched on King's Landing, with some actual pace, it could have been really disastrous had Stannis attacked them. And then I started wondering, well, what if, would Stannis actually attack him? Would he still do if he still did his shadow baby thing, and Renly's in the middle of the siege, and Stannis is hey buddy, I'll help you out by killing you with a demon, and then Renly dies in the middle of a siege. What happens then?
So are you saying they're joining forces to attack the Lannisters and then Stannis backstabs him?
Yeah, Stannis does his shadow baby thing, so he thinks everybody's here. I'll just get everybody all over to my side, and we're already attacking King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
We won't have to gather everybody up to move them. We'll all just stay here, and I'll just assume command.
How would that happen?
What do you mean?
I'm not getting it. How would Stannis and Renly join forces? He wouldn't do that.
If Renly just went right on King's Landing, so King's Landing is already surrounded by Renly's people.
Okay.
Okay? And then Stannis floats in on his ships.
Okay.
And then they do their parlay. And Renly's no. And Stannis is come on. And Renly's no. So then Stannis goes back to his tent and he does the shadow baby thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the parlay happens. Stannis gets on King's Landing, or Renly goes on King's Landing. Stannis goes there too. They don't fight each other. They have their parlay. Renly says fuck off. Stannis kills him. Or Melisandre kills him. Then what?
So
Does the army fracture off?
You're assuming that since they're already there, the majority are gonna defect to Stannis?
Well, the majority did defect to Stannis anyway. But the big problem was the Tyrells.
You think they would turn around and march away again?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Or
what do
join
you
with
think?
the Lannisters?
If they're already engaged in this siege, and then they got bolstered by Stannis' guys, what do they do? You think they hold out? You think they backstab somebody? You think they just leave?
They're the biggest part of Renly's force. They're the biggest part of Renly's force. If it played out the same way and Brienne was the only one that saw that it's Stannis' shadow that's killing Renly, there's no reason for Loras to take all his people and leave, right? Other than they didn't want Stannis to be king.
Well, Loras just thinks Brienne killed him.
I know, but I'm saying, so...
I don't know what Loras thinks of Stannis. But I mean, if they're already there doing the thing, would they just leave?
I don't know, you do have a good point, because it's not necessarily about the cause and taking the Lannisters down, it's about supporting Renly's claim, because they think Renly would be the best for the kingdom.
It's just a tough spot for the Tyrells to be in. Maybe we'll chuck up a poll and see what everybody says posthumously. Posthumously? How do you say that word?
I don't know.
After someone's
and
dead.
I don't want to try to...
Posthumously?
I thought it was posthum...
Fuck,
We both went to
After this
college and have
podcast
degrees,
is
by the way.
up and completed, maybe we'll put a poll up to see what everybody thinks. So let's move on to the next one because that got us nowhere. So how do the actions in this chapter affect the other plots? So there's a couple here. This begins the Loras Brienne feud. She beats his ass in the melee, and he's mad about it for like the next 10 books. Brienne is named to the Power Ranger squad, so this sets her up with seeing Renly's murder. It also does farther down the road set her up with being BFFs with Cat, but that's because Cat's in the room when Renly dies, so doesn't really happen or like places genesis here, but she's in the room with Renly because of what happens in this chapter. So, what do you have?
Through this, we learn of Renly's true strength and how it'll affect the other players. It confirms Barristan is still missing and hasn't pledged to anybody. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty big. Obviously that was one of Renly's first concerns was if Robb had Barristan, because Barristan has so much clout, people know wherever he goes, it's going to carry some weight. So that's all I have.
Apparently everybody but Cersei realizes that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on out to alternative POV. So I picked Marjorie Tyrell here. I figured that was a new one, a little outside the box there. I thought about Brienne, but I was like, no, can't stand her. So Marjorie Tyrell. As always, like a lot of these times whenever I pick these, like I just want to hear what these other characters think internally about other characters. So I want to know what she thinks about Renly. If she knows about Renly x Loras and if she ships it or not. And then we know in the show she does, but there's nothing about it in the books, I don't think.
No.
Does she think her side would win as is in this war? Does she think they should team up with Robb, Stannis, or Tywin? I know she's only 16, but she does hang around Olenna a lot, and she's around Renly and Loras a lot, so maybe she has her own ideas and whatnot. She is obviously a girl, and a 16-year-old girl, so she's young and a girl, so she's not involved with a lot of these war plans and stuff, as this society kind of shows. But because she seems to be included in a lot of these Tyrell plans, I wonder if she does have knowledge about this kind of stuff.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yes, it is. It's a very good one, I think.
Well, I was going to argue with you on the whole because she's a girl, but then you countered it already with Olenna and all that. So that was really good. I liked it.
Smart.
Yeah. I picked the more obvious one. I went with Renly, basically to get inside his head and see, does he really take everything as a joke? Is the melee just, a fun party? Does he think that it's proving something to somebody? Like, what is his purpose with this, with camping out at Bitter Bridge? What?
So, to call back to earlier, whenever you're like, these people, like, they're young kids, they don't know how war goes, whatever. This is like a big training thing, right? Because everything, like, Brienne and Loras, and like, whenever Catelyn walks in and sees all that stuff, it looks pretty legit.
Other up. Yeah,
they're beating the piss out of people, like, Brienne's armor dented up. So it's better that she goes through these kind of melees, and, well, Brienne and everybody else who was involved, there was like 115 people or some shit that were involved in this.
It was a huge one, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, fuck, I thought it was only supposed to be
How do you even
people.
Fight with that many people at once?
Right? It must be a big field. But no, like, it's good to have these simulated training environments, more or less. So, like, how people get to, like, move in armor with, like, a lot of fucking people running around on horses and all this other shit. So it's good to get that experience in, so whenever, like, real battle comes in, a lot of stuff becomes muscle memory. You're not just like, oh, like, fuck, this goddamn shield, like, is a lot heavier than I thought.
Okay.
And all this other stuff. So I think it has a good point. Whether or not Renly is coming at it from that perspective, I don't know. I'm going to say he is, just because. So
I think you're giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt there.
I think
he just likes to have fun.
There's a lot of stuff in this chapter we'll get out on quotes. So it makes me think that maybe Renly is smarter than the fandom kind of projects on him.
Okay. And then the biggest thing is, so we know Renly is more progressive. He's welcoming. Obviously, he's welcoming. He let Brienne be one of his Rainbow Guard. I want to know what he thinks of treating with a woman. how he feels about having Cat come to be the envoy. Like if it affects anything in his mind on how he sees Robb as a peer or a lesser or anything like that.
He seems like he's cool to talk with Catelyn.
He's super nice to her.
Yeah, he's just like, he gives her all her titles. He's polite to her. He's accommodating of her and all her people.
Speaking of accommodating, he gives her his pavilion, right? And she notes how there's all this shit in there, including maps. Why didn't she go through the maps? There could have been battle plans in the maps. Steal the maps.
Oh. Everyone assumes they're just marching straight to King's Landing.
Fine. I thought it was a good idea.
I mean, if she had plans to like screw them over, I guess. If her mission wasn't a diplomatic alliance-seeking mission.
Well, no, that makes more sense because it's kind of a straight shot. It's kind of a straight shot to King's Landing.
Like, steal his armor.
All right, that was
again, like
a stupid moment for me.
But I like where your head's at, and again, if they weren't on a friendly mission to make buddies, then, well, first of all, I don't think Renly would have given her his tent. But if it was like a secret mission, then sure, steal his shit.
Or just read them. I don't know. Okay.
I mean, like, she spends some time in there, and then it's just like, period, next paragraph. And in the castle, like, a couple hours later, so maybe she did.
Doesn't matter, anyways.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
Quote.
But as we as prior readers know, he just goes straight to King's Landing. That's all he does.
Yeah, that was...
After that, like, they were probably just be like, okay, cool, so I'm on the throne now. Stop fighting, everybody. Because I am the king, and I say so.
Which makes sense. I don't know, just when I was reading that paragraph, my first thought was, maps. Go look at the maps. Like, go look through the shit.
So now let's go on to quotes. I think you have the first quote.
Okay. So let's start on 336.
Ooh, that's where my first one is.
I have a couple on 336. I don't know which one I want to start with. I'll start with, okay. I want everybody to remember, my opinion on Catelyn has shifted.
Is wrong. Oh.
It has shifted from me hating her to me liking her and seeing her as a smart woman that cares about her family.
Again, you're not fooling anybody. Go ahead with your quote.
With that said.
Let me set aside my mask, and now the true Lillian comes out. Go ahead.
So she's thinking about when she had to have that conversation with Robb, and Robb decided that she's the one that has to go, and she's trying to tell him that her place is there at River Run with her father. He's dying. And he says to her, "There is no one else. I cannot go myself. Your father's too ill. The Blackfish is my eyes and ears. I dare not lose him. Your brother I need to hold River Run when we march." So he can't dare to lose his Uncle Brendan, but basically he's saying, okay, Mom, if you go die, not a huge loss for me.
He's not saying die.
He says specifically, I dare not lose Brendan. To me, that means he can't afford to lose him. He can't afford for him to disappear, to die, for anything to happen, but Cat isn't as valuable to him, so Cat, you go.
And out of that, you're like, it's okay if you die, Mom. Ugh. I got nothing to say. Aside from, that's a gross misinterpretation, in my opinion.
Okay, so what are your thoughts when you read that? That he's saying, okay, obviously Hoster can't go, he's fucking dying. Perfectly
Hoster
makes
can't
sense.
go because he's dying.
Makes
Blackfish
sense.
is his eyes and ears. He runs his scouts, his outriders. He's very critical and important to his military mission that he has going on.
Yes.
Edmure needs to hold River Run because we need to have a strong general in place.
So you don't think
two guys that are his 1 and 2 generals as far as military
are
goes,
more important than Mommy?
because his mom can't run armies.
There isn't a Castilian or Castellan or whatever that can hold River Run?
I'm sure there is. But he's picked Edmure to do that. I mean, we don't get like a roster breakdown on who's in charge of what company or battalion or anything like that. And Catelyn cut him off here, so maybe he was about to give a whole lot of more reasons why Mr. Birdcloak couldn't stay at home, or whoever the fuck else. Maybe he was about to talk about Theon and the Greyjoys. Like,
Well,
my
Theon's
question
already
from the
gone.
last... Yeah, maybe he's like, we got plans for Theon whenever he comes in, and like, maybe he was about to say that, and Catelyn was just like, what do you mean March? It's May. But he cuts her off.
Okay.
Or she cuts him off.
Okay.
But no, I didn't think
Okay.
that as, you are completely useless. To me, so why don't you go try to kill Tywin yourself? Like, I don't think that's what he was trying to say. He's, like, using Catelyn in the best way that she is to be used right now for his campaign, which is going out as an emissary
I agree.
and speaking on his behalf.
I agree. He is using her wisely in whatever capacity that she can as the Lady of Winterfell. But out of respect for your mother, her father is dying. Like, you don't... I don't know. Fine.
So I thought you were saying, like, Rob hates Catelyn.
Not that Rob hates Catelyn, but that Rob... Okay, a couple different things. Rob is completely disrespecting her wishes, and Rob doesn't...
Rob doesn't...
I just give up.
What does he doesn't? What doesn't he?
He doesn't care if she dies.
Oh, that's untrue. So mine on 336, and it's just a little bit farther down. So she's arguing back and forth. She thinks he's going to go to Harrenhal. He wants you to march on Harrenhal. Ask your Uncle Brendan if... And then Rob cuts her off. He says, I said nothing of Harrenhal. Now, will you go to Renly for me, or must I send the Greatjon? Skips around. She's like kind of laughing to herself in present time. She says, Rob knew how ill-suited a man like Greatjon Umber would be to treat with a man like Renly Baratheon. And he knew that she knew it well. But, what could she do? So, this confirms that they all know that Greatjon Umber is a giant fucking moron, and why do they let him say anything?
Because he's fun.
He's a giant idiot.
He would be awesome at that feast. He would be drunk and turning over tables and King of the North.
He would jump into the melee as soon as he got there, or like talk shit to everybody, and then Randall would run him through with Heartsbane and be like, "This concludes negotiations." So, no, but like they're both just like, "Stop it, Mom, or I'll send like the giant idiot over here." And she's just like, "You can't fucking do that." And he's like, "I know I can't." So like, why do they? This is the fucktard that made him king, and he's just like, can't let this guy go making decisions that could affect kingdoms, you know?
He's gonna go name Renly King of the North.
Yeah, like he's already made me a king, Mom. Like we can't let him do anything. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Good point. At least Robin and Kat agree with me that Great Johnson. He's good funny. He's good to be in front of people like as you're walking into battle.
Well, yeah, he's a giant.
You need a hype man. You need someone to rally around in the fighting. Go for him. He's not someone. He's not a kingmaker. Kristen Cole was a lot better than Greyjohn would be.
Fuck Kristen Cole.
Better person than Greyjohn Umber. You got another quote?
Yeah. So on 339. Oh, a couple of things. So I may be remembering my history wrong, so hopefully you can help me.
Probably. I can probably help you.
Uh-huh.
Not you're probably remembering wrong.
Okay. Nearly all the chivalry of the South had come to Renly's call, it seemed. The golden rose of Highgarden was seen everywhere. Sun on the right breast of armsmen, fluttering on the green silk, blah, blah, blah. As well, Catelyn spied the fox and flowers of House Florent, Fossaway apples red and green, Lord Tarley's striding huntsman, oak leaves for Oakhart, cranes for Crane, and black and orange butterflies, which I didn't remember that at all. Who the hell are the Mullendors?
No.
My question. Fossaway apples red and green. So this book was written before Dunk and Egg, obviously.
Okay.
So, like, are we ever told in A Song of Ice and Fire proper why there are red and green apples?
I don't know.
Okay, so assuming we know that they don't get along and whatever, all that happened with Dunk's trial, What is the likelihood that two opposing forces of the same family would rally behind one claimant? Like, is that
I don't know.
logical?
Could be. I mean, Blackwood and Bracken agree sometimes.
Okay, because they have the same overlord. Like, yeah. Okay, I just thought it was weird
Yeah, it
to
didn't stand
identify
out
red
to
and
me that
green,
much.
but
Yeah,
we don't know yet.
yeah, because like the point of that was to show that there's some kind of division, but I don't know. It's like Starks and Karstarks, I guess. I don't know how far back the Fossilways go. Obviously, not as old as Starks and Karstarks or Grey Starks or anything like that. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm not too read up on that bit of history in the Reach. My next one, 344, and this is Kat after she describes how ugly Brienne is.
Oh.
She says, "Pity fill Catelyn's heart. Is there any creature on this earth as unfortunate as an ugly woman?" And I wrote, Kat's patriarchy brain is showing in full effect right here. Because she's looking at it entirely from the current context of this time period, whatever. She's like, oh, damn, Brienne's ugly as shit. Like, that sucks. Like, she can't do anything now.
That kind of
really
applies
bad.
to our time, too, in some aspects, depending on
Ugly
where you
girls
are.
can't do anything? No. Like, there's plenty of smart people and technically talented people. Not technically like Ishvi, but like in a technical environment, like they are skilled at stuff, and they're ugly as fuck.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of pretty people who are
Stupid.
like really stupid and
Useless.
can't do anything either.
Hmm.
Whereas in this setting, they'd be a queen and be named Cersei.
Kardashian.
Well, yeah, but they're successful somehow.
Because she fucked. Okay.
But yeah, Kardashian would be like Cersei.
Oh. I like Cersei
Well,
to do that.
well Cersei's crazy
Well,
and
Cersei comes
dumb.
from a noble family. Family.
Are you saying the Kardashians are not a noble family of America?
Let me go fuck some guy on tape so I can be nobility.
She was popular before that.
They were rich. She wasn't in the
They had their
spotlight.
TV show before then.
No.
No, they didn't.
No, that came after Ray J's sex tape.
Oh, I don't keep up with them. Get it?
I don't either, but I know that.
So anyway, patriarchy bring Catelyn. Brienne's ugly. Her life's gonna suck. You got another quote?
Well, that makes me like it's true for Brienne, and I feel bad for her, and it's unfortunate. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Kat was speaking the truth. I don't think that. Whatever. I'm not going to argue with you about patriarchy.
You don't have to argue with me. I was agreeing with it.
All right. So on 352, I don't know where I want to start with this. Okay. So they've gone on their little moonlit walk, right? And he's pointed out all the campfires. He's pointed out all the campfires and basically the vastness of his host. And Kat's telling him, you can't be king. If this is how it's going to go, Stannis is your elder brother. Stannis is the one that should be king. And Renly says, tell me, what right did my brother Robert ever have to the Iron Throne? Oh, there was talk of the blood ties between Baratheon and Targaryen, of weddings 100 years past, of second sons and elder daughters. No one but the maesters care about any of it. Robert won the throne with his warhammer. And then he says basically all of his people are his warhammer. So I thought that was a really good line to show the comparison, and how basically everybody that's fighting this war, it's a war of conquest at this point. Like, yes, we're Team Stannis. Stannis has the rightful claim. But in the eyes of the people, Joffrey is the king, and whoever is going to win it is through conquest. Quote unquote.
Yeah, right. It's at this point, look. First of all, the small people don't give a fuck about whoever's there.
The lordlings.
But yeah, the people who, the upper middle class, or whatever you want to call them, like. But yeah, no, it's about who can take it, because like if they kill everybody and then you say Renly kills everybody and then Renly sits at the throne, no one's gonna be like, no, no, this is not right, because then they'll, die or get thrown in jail. And then everybody's going to be like, you know what, this doesn't affect me at all. I'm going to go back to my house, and, I want to never see Renly ever again.
Yeah.
So I had that same quote, but I highlighted it for a different reason. And this is to show that Robert didn't claim the throne due to his Targ blood. This wasn't like John, Aaron, and Ned and Tywin were just like, well, do you have Targ blood? I don't have Targ. Do you? Robert does. So, no, that's not what happened. They didn't get together and be like, Robert's a Targaryen descendant, so he can be the throne, or he can be the king now. It was Robert was the leader of the figurehead of this whole thing. John was the brains behind it, but the reason why because it was going to be John Aaron was going to do it, but he's really fucking old. He has no heirs. Robert's young. He can still make heirs, so we picked Robert. That's what happened. It wasn't because of Targaryen blood. Renly says here, no one gives a shit about that. It was just the Macers who
wrote that.
The fucking mental gymnastics,
yes.
And was flipping everything around to be like, oh, so it was he's a legal heir to Aerys. It's bullshit. It's not what happened. It's in the books. Read it.
And I started to say that when I was beginning the paragraph about Robert's rebellion. I was like, I don't know how to word this correctly, so I'm glad you did it right now, because I was thinking about that too.
All right, so on 345, and this one kind of spans 345 to 346. There's a couple of instances here. So this is showing Renly's a good guy, that he's not like Robert. He shuts up Brienne and Randall, and he shows a bit of his personality, but also a bit of his personality traits that I think make people like him. So Brienne, or Catelyn, says something about it. She calls Renly my lord. And then Brienne the Blue says, Your Grace, and you should kneel when you approach the king. And Catelyn smarts up back to him. She's like, this is between a lord and a grace. And Renly is just like, okay, yeah, well said. Okay, cool. But, Catelyn's right, so, there'll be enough graces or let's see, I'll do the whole thing. Well said, my lady. There'll be time enough for graces when all these wars are done. Tell me when, and he immediately, deflects. He cools down. He's just like, Brienne, shut up, okay? Catelyn, I agree. That's a good thing you said. Now, anyway, tell me about Rob. What is he doing with Harrenhal? Someone else says, or they ask him, she goes, when does he march on Harrenhal? Cat says, I don't sit on my son's war councils. He's like, as long as he leaves a couple Lannisters for me to kill, that's fine. So he doesn't get the right answer that he wants, but he's still casual with it. He's like, that's fine. Someone asks him, or he asks about Jaime Lannister. Mathis Rowan is just like, oh, he's still alive. He does say the direwolf is gentler than the lion, and all this other stuff. And then Tarly comes in and says the whole bit about, no disrespect to you, Lady Stark, but it would have been more seemly had Lord Robb come to pay homage to the king himself rather than hiding behind his mother's skirts. And then Catelyn goes, King Robb is warring. And Renly's just like, okay, chill out, Randall, okay? I fear you're overmatched. Catelyn's going to beat your ass, okay? So maybe you should just sit there and be quiet, okay? Anyway, so, Cat, why don't you go find a hotel real quick? You can have my room. It's all cool. So he does, all these things. Later he talks about Caswell and he's like, do you have daughters? And Caswell's like, yeah. And he's like, glad I'm not Robert, because I'm not going to fuck any of them. So he de-escalates the situation where everyone's trying to attack Catelyn and to not be friendly. And this whole time he's just like, you shut up, Cat. Go hang out, go chill out, and then we'll come get some food later. And I was like, deftly maneuvered there, Renly. That was very well done. Because you got all kinds of different personalities running around here. None of them are too much alike. Brienne and Randall.
Oh my god, do not ship them. No ship.
It'd be like Randall fucking himself. But yeah, there's just a lot of personalities flying around there, and Renly pacifies all of it rather easily. So I was like, that's a good job, Renly. That's probably why people like him so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Alright, so on 341, Kat's just got into the melee. She's noting who's all around. And she says, in their midst, watching and laughing with his young queen by his side, sat a ghost in a golden crown. Small wonder the lords gather around him. He's just like Robert, blah, blah, blah. So the line to me that stood out is a ghost in a golden crown. And I'm just wondering, is that supposed to plant the seed of Garland coming in Renly's armor? And everyone thought it was the ghost of Renly during Blackwater.
Oh, that's a good call.
Thought it might be a subtle hint to that.
I think there's tons of layered foreshadowing on that one, because the obvious one is what Catelyn means. Like, he looks just like Robert. Mm-hmm. He's a ghost of younger Robert. We know Renly dies, so he's a dead man sitting in a crown. You know, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
But then you bring up the point with Garland, acting as Renly as a ghost. So yeah, there's a couple different levels there.
Yay, we got some symbolism.
I got another one. I'm smart in this. So she's checking out Renly's armor, and it says she could see her reflection in the breastplate, gazing back at her as if from the bottom of a deep green pond. The face of a drowned woman, Catelyn thought. Can you drown in grief? And holy shit, if that's not fucking red wedding shit right there.
Yes, for Stoneheart. that was my last quote. Joe should be proud of us.
Yes, lots of symbolism there. But yeah, I read that and I was just like, obviously. But reading it the first time, you're just like, cool. She's really sad. I mean, not cool, but you're just like okay. She looks sad. Do you got another one?
No, that was my last one.
Oh, I still got a couple. So on 348, from time to time, King Renly would feed Marjorie some choice morsel off the point of his dagger, or lean in over to plant the lightest of kisses on her cheek. But it was Sir Loras who shared most of his jests and confidences. So I was like, is this a subtle Renless hint? Lorly? Renless? How do you say their names are too short. Renly and Renless sound the same. Is that a Renly x Loras hint?
The more and more I get into the books, the more and more I am against them being a gay couple.
Why?
That sounded wrong. That sounded so wrong. Not what I meant. I don't think it's meant to be. I think it's like another Jon Con Rhaegar type thing. Not necessarily unrequited love, but they had such a close friendship and bond. And Loras's line later on about the candle that has gone out. I think he just really.
When the sun sets, no candle can replace
it or something
flame.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I
a great
think
quote. I just can't remember.
He just really, truly loved Renly. I don't know if it was on a sexual level or just a friendship level, but I just think they had a really deep bond. And the more and more I get into the books, I have a problem with people projecting it as being a gay relationship when it's possible that it may not have been.
I can't not read it without them thinking they're gay.
Because of the show, or?
Probably.
See, that's the thing.
But the show did it. The show did it so badly though, where
yes, they did.
Loras is only a gay person. That's all he is in the show, and he fucks he goes to a brothel and fucks another dude, and it's like Loras was not like that. He wasn't just out to get some dick. He does have the strong bond with Renly. I still think it's gay though.
Okay.
I mean, they are gay. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think there is an intimacy there between them.
Well, if it is, then...
I still think it's gay.
Well, regardless of how deep their relationship goes or whatever, it's a beautiful relationship that they have. And he's genuinely hurt when he dies.
But see, when you compare it to Rhaegar and Jon Con, Jon Con was gay about it. Or intimate about it. I should, what's the right way to say that?
Is that canon? That he was in love with Rhaegar? Or do we all just kind of read into
George
it?
George Martin said it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember.
It's overbearingly obvious too, I think.
Well, and see,
or not overbearing, not heavy-handed, but...
See, I feel like Loras...
spoken clearly enough.
I feel like Loras and Renly are more clear than Jon Con and Rhaegar.
I mean, I think they both are. So, all right. So my next one was on 350. Kat thinks young people who want to fight are stupid. Brienne doesn't help. Also, Brienne is too much in love with Ren. So this, we kind of talked about this earlier, but really it's, yeah, Kat has her whole thing. She feels bad for all these young people because they're into summer and winter is coming. But she has this, in my opinion, wrong opinion on young people who want to fight. I think it's very like old people, like today with people, like old people are, young people have like all these movements they want to do, right? They have all these things that they're trying to go forward, and all these old people are just like, you can't do that. You need to work in a factory for 40 years and then retire. Like Catelyn is the old white man, and the Knights of the Summer are millennials.
Oh Lord.
And
okay.
then, in typical millennial fashion, there's always like that small group of people that are very outspoken that get heard and that don't represent the whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Brienne is here. Winter will never come for the likes of us. Should we die in battle, they will surely sing of us, and it's always summer in the songs, and in all the songs, all nights are gallant, and all maids are beautiful, and the sun is always
Fucking
shining.
idiot.
And it's like, she doesn't talk for all of us, guys. Like, no.
What I find
No.
interesting about that is she parallels Sansa's thoughts.
Yeah,
Prior
she's
to
like
getting the reality check, that was what. So even though Brienne was ugly, she is ugly. You know, growing up, her dad had the singers come in and things like that. I thought it was interesting that she had those same kind of like expectations of the world that Sansa does.
Yeah, she's like a big ugly Sansa. A big ugly strong Sansa. And then Catelyn says, winter comes for all of us. For me, it came when Ned died. It'll come for you too, child, and sooner than you like. Oh, that's foreshadowing.
Yep.
Missed that.
I had that one marked down, but I took my sticky thingy off of it because I thought it wasn't as important. But yes, that's also another thing to Stoneheart.
So that's Brienne doesn't help. Catelyn thinking young people want to fight are stupid, and she's too much in love with Renly because Renly's like, come on, Cat, let's go take a walk. And she's like, me too? And no, hey, stay. And like, he's really nice about it. He smiles. He's like, if I'm not safe here, then like, we're all fucked. So go ahead, sit down and eat. If I need you, I'll call you.
So sad.
And it says his words seemed to strike the girl harder than any blow she had taken that afternoon. As you will, your grace, Brienne sat, eyes downcast. It's like, oh, you're so pathetic. Like, come on.
Aww.
He didn't say anything hurtful. And she was
Okay.
like, I can't walk with you? He's like, no, I'm talking with the adults. She's like, I can't come with you. Like, no. You can stay here, though. It'll be okay. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Okay, stay. I was just like, God, Brienne, you're so pathetic. 351. You talked about this. He was saving, or Brienne took Barristan Selmy's reserved rainbow cloak.
Mm-hmm.
Had Ned listened to Renly, like he'd probably still be alive, or he would have had a better chance. Things wouldn't have played out exactly how they had. He recognized that Cersei would have killed him had he stayed in King's Landing, and that's why he ran. So he's going through all these steps, like detailing his run through, or like what happened with him since he left King's Landing, and they're all like smart decisions. Like having that spot open for Barristan Selmy. For one, Renly's like, I heard he went over to the True King, so like I thought he was coming to me, and if he wasn't coming to me, I thought he was coming to Robb. It's like, come on, like you know who if he said the True King, like you really think he was going to come to you, Renly? Like,
and
okay,
even in his speech, he says, I hope Stannis comes for you and whatever else when he says that to Joffrey.
But Renly's not in the room to hear that.
But still, I'm sure word got back to him on that.
Maybe they didn't write down his quotes.
Okay.
But anyway, Renly should have known that Barristan wasn't going to come to Robb or Renly.
Who the fuck saw him going to Daenerys, though?
Nobody.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't see him going to Daenerys. But yeah, it was still smart to have that spot open just in case it came in.
It's not like he could have kicked somebody off or added another spot.
Catelyn says Ned refused you. He had sworn to protect Robert's children, Renly said. I lacked the strength to act alone, so when Lord Eddard turned me away, I had no choice but to flee, and I stayed. I knew the Queen would see to it that I did not long outlive my brother. Catelyn thinks, had you stayed and let your support to Ned, he might still be alive. Sure, he tried, but Ned was super stubborn about it, and Renly warned him.
Honor got him killed.
Yeah. Yeah, he just would not bend. Oh, that's what he says.
Mm-hmm.
He was loyal friend to Robert, I know, but he would not listen and he would not bend. So
that's why he went to Team Stannis, because Stannis will break before he bends.
Right, so I think that's all the quotes I had. So all those things I listed out, plus how he interacts with his own people, how he calms things down, how he's nice to everybody, I think this means he's a lot more level-headed and a clear thinker than what people give him credit for. I think he's just a flimsy, party-going frat boy dude. So, but he knows how to be chill. He knows how to make jokes. He knows how to get along with people. He's formed together the largest army and alliance in this War of the Five Kings. So he can do that. He can form alliances. He can pacify regions. I don't know what exactly he did as Master of Laws, but I don't think there was a whole lot of law breaking in a Game of Thrones. So I'm sure he did that job fairly well, I guess. There's nothing to say that he didn't. So yeah, Renly gets a bad rap, but I think he's a good guy.
I like
he's smart.
him.
He knows how to handle people. So what if he can't swing a warhammer very good?
I like him. I think people don't give him a fair shot. I don't, sometimes I wonder how I became so, Stannis is the one true king. He is the one true king, but still, I don't think it's ever made me hate Renly. But you know how there's people where it's like, oh, Renly's not right, and everything else.
I like Stannis because it's the whole military background thing. I think he's the best pure military leader of the thing, and I understand some of the things in the way he does stuff, and that attracted me to him more than other folks.
Line of succession for me. It's rightfully his.
Yeah, that's true too. Even though we both recognize that rights mean nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ren's a solid number 2 for me, I guess.
If you had to choose between the 5?
Yeah, Ren's a number 2. Who's the other 5? Stannis, Renly,
Balon.
Robb, Balon, Joffrey. Yeah, I don't care about the other 3.
Yeah. I think Robb are above the other 2, but yeah.
Robb would be the worst.
Really?
Well, not the worst. Balon would be the worst. He would capture Winterfell and Riverrun and be like, we're going to invade Pentos now. And they'd be like, why the fuck would we do that? That'd be shouldn't we try to shouldn't we get an East Coast base? And he's just like, we're the Ironborn. This is the old way. And they'd get halfway to taking Pentos and he'd be like, let's go to the Summer Isles right now. And they're like, why? Because I want to. Balon would be the worst.
Yeah.
Standout appearances.
So for standout, I have Brienne.
Yeah, me too.
We're introduced to her. We don't get her backstory yet, but we definitely get a sense of how much she worships Renly, and I wouldn't call it pathetic like you. I find it very sad, and I feel bad for her. Obviously she wants to protect him. She wants to be with him at all times. And those quotes that you did already covered basically my reasoning on why she stood out to me.
Yeah, I had Brienne, and I decided I didn't say pathetic here. I said she is a strong, helpless idiot.
So why is it okay to call her a helpless idiot, but I can't call Sansa an idiot, a helpless idiot?
How old is Brienne?
I don't know, in her 20s.
She's 13.
My God. Okay.
That's why.
Fine.
She has 10 years of living experience ahead of her.
10 years of living experience. She has 10 years of living on her father's island while people tried to make bets on who could take her maidenhead.
That didn't happen on her island.
Where'd that happen?
That happened in Renly's camp.
I thought it happened before that too, while she was still a teenager.
It happened with.
Because she was promised to some lordling.
Red Ronnet. It was Red Ronnet, and he was like, I forget, he did something.
Whatever.
No, the bets.
Okay.
The bets, because Randall Tarley found out about it, remember? And he
put an end to
chopped off
it.
a bunch of dicks.
Yeah.
It might have happened before, I don't know. I just remember the Randall one.
I feel like it was an ongoing thing, but yes.
I also have Renly that stood out to me, but I've gone over that way too many times.
I figured I didn't need to write him in since I had him as the main character.
This is Randall's first appearance, isn't it?
Yes, we know about him through Sam, but this is the first time we actually see him in his bluntness.
Yeah, he only gets one line, but like you can just look at that small passage, that scene that he's in, and generally that's how Randall is.
I like him.
He's cool.
Got anything else?
He's the kind of guy that you need in your military, but don't look for him to be nice.
He is not a father figure.
No, he's not a good person. His treatment of Sam, you said he's a terrible father, and I'm like, yeah, he's not a good person. You're just I don't know.
You can still be a good person and a terrible parent.
He threatened to kill Sam. He's not a good person.
I also think Victarion is good on some level, so we can just move on.
No, I mean, Randall has good military qualities.
Okay.
Theories. I left mine blank because there's nothing to theorize. Oh, except that maybe Renly and Loras have a thing going on. I don't know. Maybe. I saw a TV show that did that once.
Okay.
That's funny. That's funny. Do you have theories? You had a stupid thing, right?
I have a stupid thing. I don't know if I would really call it a theory, because I know how we both feel about certain swords coming back into the story and who may or may not have them and things like that.
No more Heartsbane?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, you're not going to see this coming. So on 334, Kat has just woken up. She's, thinking about the kids and everything. She's remembering her family. She says, "Sweet it was, sweet and gone too soon. Dawn came cruel, a dagger of light. She woke aching and alone and weary." So is someone going to have Dawn and kill her? Is that how Stoneheart's going to die?
Why?
I don't think that at all, but Dawn came cruel, a dagger of light. That's literally Dawn.
But Dawn is a two-handed greatsword, not a dagger.
But it's literally Dawn. Otherwise, okay, ignoring the size of it, that is describing Dawn.
Fair enough. Dawn came cruel. I thought you wanted me to get away from focusing on these kind of things. But
how?
since
How in
I tried to
world?
focus
Tell me,
on the
how?
second part.
How?
But sure. Dawn with its describe the color
Someone's gonna fucking fuck her with Dawn?
Describe the color of Dawn's blade.
Smell like milk glass.
Dawn, the blade that looks like
dagger
creamy
of light.
milk came
light.
Cruel.
A dagger of light.
But again, Dawn's a two-handed greatsword, not a dagger. So we'll focus on the first part where Dawn, the creamy milk-colored sword, came. Dawn, the milk sword, came
cruel.
Cruel. So, like, on her face? I don't know. You wanted me to focus on this, so...
Because I literally thought of Dawn the sword, and that she woke up aching and alone and tired, so that maybe...
Aching. Ooh, aching. That could have some...
I fucking hate you.
Should we look at every mention of Dawn as, like, some kind of reference to a sword? Because I haven't been doing that.
Well, we know...
But no, like, because that's not something that I've been looking at, and I'm genuinely wondering, like, if there is hints about the sword anytime someone says, Dawn came, and then we went south. It's like, well, Dawn's in the south.
I don't know. It's entirely possible. Okay, so...
Dawn came and nothing happened.
I've always been more of a surface reader. I just read the story for the story, but now that we're going through in depth, like little things just stand out. Like it doesn't.
Well, what if a passage said dawn broke and we were tricked or something? It's like, is dawn a trick? Is dawn gonna break? Because like dawn breaks, like dawn doesn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, how should you look at that whenever if you see something like dawn came, dawn broke, dawn arrived?
That's just dawn, like dawn of the day. I said this was a stupid thing.
Okay, so in those contexts, like if dawn the sword breaks and it's broken, then it doesn't fit to our narrative.
No.
So we can pick and choose whenever we decide we want the dawn to apply to the sword.
But I'm saying yes, but I'm saying we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Dawn may reappear in our story, and maybe it'll break.
Maybe.
Like I said, this was a stupid thing. I just thought it was interesting because.
Well, it's not stupid because we haven't gone through and looked for it. I don't do the word search thing like what people do.
Oh, well, I didn't do that.
Can you type multiple words in it, like
yes.
dawn broke or like
yes.
dawn or?
Yes.
You should do that and then record a podcast.
I was just pointing it out because dawn and dagger were in the same sentence, and because dagger made me think of sword. Sword, dawn is a sword. Well, a sword made of light because starfall. So I put that all together having to do with dawn the sword.
You could be onto something, but I don't see how that would come back to Catelyn.
We got at least 2 books. We don't know what's going to happen.
Sure. Who knows? Yeah, all kinds of things. Like distances traveled, like that doesn't matter.
Well, there are people that believe that Jon will wield dawn, or that dawn is Lightbringer, and things like that. So that's why.
Sure.
So who the fuck knows what's going to happen? But my point being, maybe she's going to die by the hands of Dawn.
I can see how you get there. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Just thought it was interesting.
Cool.
All right. So what do we have next?
Great theories.
Oh, no.
Catelyn 3?
I have nothing. Yes.
Catelyn 3 is next?
Catelyn 3, and we should be joined by a special guest, hopefully, if I can get my shit together.
So probably not.
Oh.
Thanks for listening. Comment on the video here, and subscribe on the YouTubes, follow on the Twitters at Glass Candle. There's some underscore in there. I don't know what it is.
It's Glass Candle Podcast _.
There you go.
And come find us on Facebook, ASOIAF/GOT Discussions and Theories.
Yep. Hang out with us, talk about the books and theories and shit. Tune in next week. We might have somebody else. It could just be us two rambling more about Renly's Peach.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you.